Welcome, everyone. I hope you're really enjoying the conference AWS reInvent as you're joining sessions. I really hope it's been educational for you. My session today is how to be a data management genius. My name is Teresa Miller, and I'm a principal technologist with Cohesity. So what does this really mean, being a data management genius? Well, all of us have data to take care of for our enterprises. And we're going to go ahead and embark on a journey today where we're going to take a look at it meaning more than just the traditional backups you may be used to managing and dealing with. From there, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the mistakes that I've experienced from the real world with data management. You know, we're all human and things happen, but let's talk about it because I think you may find some of these things to be relatable. And then we're going to dive into data management as a service and how this can help you with some of those pitfalls and mistakes that you've experienced in the past. So first and foremost, data management, it's a journey for sure, and it does go well beyond backups and even recoveries. So let's take a closer look. As we define data management, we need to be thinking about it as the comprise of all disciplines related to managing data as valuable resources. So again, not just backup and recovery. What are we doing to retain that data, for example? Retention and archiving, disaster recovery, test dev. Think about those things. They'll come up again as we're talking today, and I expect that you'll be thinking about things a little bit differently going forward. So most of us, when we think about data, may be in this legacy mindset, or we're on an in-between journey where we've made that transition to what backups can potentially do for us. So you might be thinking that it's only backup and recovery. So it's not. You might still be using tape. Or perhaps you have an on-prem system deployed with another on-prem system in a colo, for example, where you're replicating your data. And to deal with cloud, you might have this bolt-on cloud option and not something that was architected to deal with cloud as a whole. The legacy mindset oftentimes has no recovery testing. You see that the backup succeeded and you didn't take that step of recovery testing forward, or maybe you only did it for a few systems. You might still be dealing with recovery SLAs that are in excess of 24 hours. You're probably managing your environment with multiple backup products. And you've purchased many other management solutions. I know I've been in this situation before where backup and recovery was backup and recovery, and then we bought an archive solution, and then we bought a separate disaster recovery solution. It gets expensive and it gets time consuming because you have all of these products to learn. And then you're also left supporting many data silos. Dev test, for example. Dev test is one of those things that can be very expensive to deploy if done correctly. And so why manage that differently? And then some of the other things we've already talked about here, like archiving and disaster recovery, you know, you're managing those separately, and that's a challenge in itself. So how do we move forward from this legacy mindset of managing different systems? Well, I love this particular quote from Albert Einstein. We can't solve our problems with the same thinking as when we originally created them. We need to be open to changing our mindset so that we can successfully manage our data in a new way for all of the new solutions available to us in our enterprises. So what are those top data management mistakes to avoid. Again, these things have happened to me. I'll share some of my real world stories here as well. It can be painful if we don't avoid some of these things. So, first and foremost, don't assume that all data is backed up. I think we all got comfortable with our on-prem deployments because our processes were streamlined, but then cloud came along, and there's this perception that cloud is backed up by default, but the truth is you have to go out of your way, take extra steps to make sure that there is protection in place. If not, you could end up in a situation where you can't get that data back. I had a circumstance where I had a power user that was managing their own virtual machine instance of a Windows server. They did some Windows updates on their own, didn't know that they had to take the extra step to back up their data, and their machine got corrupted. It was a production system. And when something like that happens, it's not fun. Now, thankfully, support was able to get that system back, but that's not a guaranteed SLA that any cloud providers will offer you. So know that you do have to take those extra steps regardless of what you choose to use to protect your cloud data. The other thing that's important to recognize is that SaaS applications typically don't come with backup enabled either. Some of them have backup options, some of them will tell you that you need to pursue a third-party option, and some will offer you ways of retaining data, but there's no guaranteed SLA. So it really doesn't equal a true backup solution as we've known and grown to understand. And then add hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud complexity can really make this interesting as well. You need a single solution that's going to help you protect on-prem, cloud, and that in-between configuration you're managing. And then the whole dev test element. I have spent lots of money, lots of time, lots of hours architecting dev test for the applications that I've supported. What if you could leverage your backups for that? Think about that. Much, much simpler than trying to manage that all separately. And one point that I'd like to call out, ESG Research did a survey, and I thought this was interesting because it really supports that SaaS has no backup. 37% of those surveyed did believe that the SaaS providers were responsible for their data. A lot of the time what you're going to find is they're going to give you the high availability of your application, but you are responsible for that enterprise data. The next mistake, designing backup for backup alone and not recovery. I mentioned this briefly as we got started. So your backup job is complete. You've got that green OK, that check mark, all done, right? No, you're not done. You have to do recovery testing. Not everything comes back in the same way that you would expect. Some applications have proprietary recovery processes, so not all applications are equal either. So you have to plan for recovery testing. So what are some of the situations where recovery might be needed for? One is ransomware preparedness. Ransomware, I read a prediction recently that by 2021, every 11 seconds an enterprise is going to be impacted by ransomware. So how are you going to recover from that? Are you going to pay the ransom and then maybe have it happen again? Or are you going to have the right solution in place to be able to recover quickly, not pay the ransom, and get your business back up and running? Human error. Stuff happens. I worked in an enterprise where by just an inconsequential miss on security, a scripting admin had the ability to access both desktop OSs and server OSs. and they accidentally pushed desktop OSs to some of the production servers. Recovery immediately was needed for over 100 systems. Things happen that we can't predict. I also worked in an enterprise where we had all of dev test on a certain storage device, and by chance there was a bug in the set of disks, and within the course of about an hour we had over 100 disks fail, and in that case no data protection to even recover from. Everything took months to rebuild. So be ready for the unexpected. Design for recovery. Another mistake that I've run into is having too many data management solutions. I alluded to this a little bit already. So one, you may have a separate replication tool. Maybe you're replicating your data to a colo, a different device. Or maybe you are replicating to the cloud, but you have a separate tool to do it. Similar with archiving. You may be using a separate file and object solution to archive all of those important files that your enterprise lives off of. Disaster recovery is likely deployed with a separate tool if you even have been able to set up a disaster recovery solution. I've worked in so many enterprises where they've struggled getting disaster recovery even off the ground because of the cost and the complexity. And cloud migration. This in itself can be complex. We're all very interested in cloud first, but getting that data there that's on-prem into the cloud is a process. Without the right tools or leveraging a separate tool, it can happen, but why do it with a separate tool? And then even ransomware detection. What if you could detect anomalies in your servers and your data through your data management solution? Think about that. So I've talked about many of these mistakes, and I have another quote here that's oftentimes attributed to Einstein, but we weren't able to 100% confirm it. Nonetheless, it's exactly what we talked about, all those mistakes. Why keep doing those things over and over? It's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results it's not realistic. You need to change that mindset. Look at different tools to be successful with your data. So now I'm going to switch gears to data management as a service and talk about some of the best practices for those of you on that cloud first journey who are looking to get out of the infrastructure business. What should you be thinking about to be successful with this as an option? So first of all, why would you even consider data management as a service? So you are able to consolidate your additional workloads and eliminate some of those data silos if you have one solution that can protect your data, even if it's in the cloud. Why wouldn't you let your data management as a service provider manage that infrastructure? We've had a really interesting year. Some of us lost access to our physical data centers. The cloud is more interesting than ever. Enterprises are looking to shift that operational expenditure or move into that operational expenditure model as we have been with all of our other cloud applications. And one of the other benefits is, depending on the provider that a DMaas solution is launched on, you may even be able to take advantage of some of their advanced cloud services to extract more value from your data. And one final talking point on this is Vance and Bourne did a survey recently and found that 94% of people actually, and enterprises do believe that data management as a service will lower their TCO. Let's talk about some best practices. DMaas can be simple and reliable. You don't have any infrastructure to stand up. You can probably be online in as little as 30 minutes or so. Finding a solution that's developed on a trusted solution already, such as AWS Cloud, could be quite intriguing. And another really great benefit is feature releases. They get added as they become available. You no longer have to install them to be able to leverage them. You request them, and in time, they become available. Best practices around DMaas should also be about looking closely at security, making sure that security compliance has been considered, being registered as SOC 2 compliant, for example. Making sure that you have governance options. Making sure that rules and policies can be defined according to your particular needs for your enterprise and the regulations that you need to follow. And why wouldn't you want data management as a service that's built on AWS? It's one of the most secure cloud offerings there is. So in terms of best practices, again, it's about understanding your data, finding a solution that aligns with data strategy, giving you the ability to analyze your data, discover sensitive information just because you've done backups of your data. Search and visualize that data easily. Your solutions that you're looking at should offer breadth and depth of services. It shouldn't just be backup and recovery. You want to get the archiving. You want to be able to do analytics research. You want to be able to search and see and use that data. You should expect more from your data management. You should be able to consolidate or provide multiple use cases. Do disaster recovery. Like I said, I've seen so many organizations struggle with getting this off the ground. Leverage data management as a service for that. Same with dev test. Take a backup, leverage it for dev test, put that back into production or tear it down when you're done testing. And detect ransomware or even recover from that ransomware quickly, because ransomware, unfortunately, is impacting most enterprises. What if your data management could help you migrate to the cloud easily? Help you protect your files and objects, and help you seamlessly manage your hybrid cloud deployment. Expect more from that data management. It's possible. It's not just backup and recovery. So this portion, we're going to dive just briefly into what Cohesity is really proud to talk about today. We have a strategic collaboration with AWS. In the early phases here, we have our backup as a service offering on AWS. It's a single converged platform protecting on-prem and cloud workloads. Get out of the infrastructure business. It's possible. We can help with capacity-based planning and pricing, and it's as easy as signing up, connecting, and protecting. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears into my demo on DMaas with Cohesity, and then we're just going to wrap things up from there. So hope you enjoy my demo. Let's go ahead and take a look at our data management as a service offering. More specifically, we're going to take a look at Helios and our backup as a service capability and getting started. So what we're looking at is our Helios dashboard. Our Helios dashboard shows us a little bit about the storage that we're using, our AWS tenant information and location, as well as any alerts on the protection jobs and our SaaS connections that we need to be aware of. We can also see which and how many objects are protected, as well as successful job runs. Now let's go ahead and I'll show you how to do a protection job. This is our backup as a service offering. I'm going to go ahead here. I clicked on sources, and the first thing you need to do to protect your vSphere virtual machines would be to do a source registration. You can see I have one here, but if I wanted to add a new one, I'd click on this plus sign and choose hypervisor. One of the important elements of this is our SaaS connection. Our SaaS connection is that connection between on-prem and cloud, and the SaaS connection can be set up as a series of connectors with high availability and redundancy, as well as it's been built with performance optimization in mind, as well as security. All of the information between your on-prem and cloud environment is encrypted. From there, you would fill in the rest of the information here and your source would be registered. I'm going to go ahead and cancel, and we're going to use our existing source to jump into the backup as a service option. So as we take a look at what we have here, we have several different views. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears to the VM listing. Now I want to get started with protecting some of those machines that I don't have protected yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do a sort here to find the ones that are unprotected. Alternatively, I do have the ability to search and find anything that would qualify as unprotected as well. Since we have this up here, let's go ahead and choose this WinApp 5 server. As soon as I selected it, you'll notice that this protection shield popped up. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it's going to let me make some choices about how I protect this particular machine. So for example, what is the frequency of backup that I'd like, as well as the retention for this particular machine? You do have the ability to create your own, but for our demo today, I'm just going to go ahead and choose the silver. We also have more options that you can choose from. When you're working with protecting your machines, we can choose start times, for example, and there are some additional settings that you can find here down below. Things like exclusions, SLAs, etc. I'm going to go ahead and not change any of those things, but choose protect. And it's really that simple. We've already protected a virtual machine, and that's been done successfully. So now let's shift gears to recovery. For the purposes of recovery, I'm going to go ahead and choose a machine that's already been protected. We know it's been backed up, so we just want to be able to restore it. You could again have alternatively searched for that machine, but I'm going to go ahead here and just choose this one. When I chose this virtual machine, recover option popped up here, and I get some choices. I have the ability to restore to an original location or a new location, as well as choose different prefixes for my machines. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that prefix and choose Start Recovery. So with that, you can see I also then get an activity list where I can track the progress of my backups as well as recovery. And it really is just that simple to get started with backup as a service within our new data management as a service offering. All right, so let's go ahead and close things out with a few key takeaways from today. So data management is more than backups. Move forward out of that legacy mindset so that you can leverage it for many, many things. Don't assume that all data is protected. Test and double check. Implement a single solution, not many. Why be managing all those different tools? It's a lot of learning and educating, and the team will have a lot more to manage. Use one solution for data management. Plan for recovery, not just backups. Security matters. Make sure that any solution you implement has taken security seriously with your data. And in the end here today, you are now a data management genius and can move forward successfully with your data management solution and planning. And one final concluding thought, This is one of my favorite quotes. It's really about, genius is being 1% inspiration. It's all about the idea and making the change, and the rest is just the hard work. I think Thomas Edison said it pretty well here. So thank you everyone for joining my session today. Feel free to reach out to me at our Cohesity sponsor page for reInvent, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Take care and thank you.